Story 1. My ex-wife, 31, female, is flirting with me, 31, female, and I can't process it. I am a trans woman and transitioned after we divorced. We got married really young. We were married for 5 years and divorced when we were 24. We were not ready for a lifelong commitment, and my wife realized that she is a lesbian, and it led to us divorcing. It was amicable, had a lot of conflicting emotions about the divorce, but we worked together to make it fair for our kids. She got most of the custody. I went to therapy, and after a few months of therapy, I realized that some of the conflicting emotions came from the fact that I was a woman myself, and it took me a long time to work through that. She has been very supportive when I came out. 3 months ago, I moved closer to her so that I could spend more time with my children. We have been spending time together. We have dinner together with our children, and we do grocery runs together. I feel like she is flirting with me. She praises my style. She has told me I look beautiful a lot. She texts me frequently about nothing. It is almost like old times. Yesterday we had dinner, and while we were cooking, she hugged me and told me that she was glad I had moved closer. I don't know if she is being supportive or if she is flirting. I still love her. She was the best person I have dated, but it is complicated. We have a marriage that failed behind us, and we have to think about our kids too. I don't want to pursue a relationship if it will hurt our children, but I can't notice that she is doing something that she never did during our marriage. I am crushing on her hard. It is a tricky situation, and I need some advice on how to handle it. Too long. Didn't read. My ex-wife is gay, and I have transitioned. It was the only reason we divorced, and I feel like she is flirting with me. Story 2. I think my wife is flirting with the mailman and have proof. She claims she is not and now won't talk to me. My wife and I are in our 30s. We have been married for 2 years. When we got married, we moved into a nice small house in the suburbs. Last summer, we got a new mailman who is objectively attractive. Not going into detail, but he looks good. Towards the end of summer, I noticed my wife was almost always outside around the time he would bring the mail. I actually started tracking when she would go out on a spreadsheet. She averaged going out 20 minutes before the mail would get here. Obviously some variation as the mail didn't come at the exact same time each day. But it was weird. She would work on our front patio and then have a short conversation with the mailman. Then, in about 7 minutes on average, she would come back inside and work from her office. Another thing I noticed is that her clothes seemed to change when she went outside. Almost 70% of the time, she would have a tank top on, then put a shirt over that when she came back inside. I didn't say anything as fall and winter came, and we live in a cold climate, and so she stopped going out. Once in a while, she would go say hi, but not like in the summer. She also gave him a very nice tip for Christmas. $250. I had forgotten about all this until it started getting warmer out with spring. I couldn't do another summer of this. And so I decided to talk to her. Last night, I sat her down and showed her all the information from last year. I explained that I didn't feel comfortable with how much attention she gave the mailman, and asked if she could not do it this summer. She didn't understand, or maybe didn't understand the numbers. She got very upset and started yelling that she didn't do anything wrong and just happened to be out there while he was there. I tried to show her the numbers again, but she got upset and slammed the computer lid on my finger. At that point, I got upset and walked out and went for a walk. When I got back home, she was gone and wouldn't answer her phone. She finally came home but wouldn't talk to me. She slept on the couch, and I honestly didn't get any sleep. It's been a very weird day, as she is only talking to me when absolutely needed. Otherwise, she is distant and won't talk to me. Am I overreacting, or is this normal for women to talk with the mailman? Update. People are asking for an update. Woke up this morning and she is still pissed. I guess I'll just give her more time. Many of you really aren't understanding the spreadsheet. I used it to show that she went out right around the time the mailman got here. It was a way to graph averages and show consistency. I may have been wrong about the tank top. I do realize that she may have taken off her top because it is hot outside. Story 3. Caught my wife flirting, texting another man, seeking advice. We have been married for 5 years. I know we've had our problems here and there, but those have always seemed to be on my end. I never really had a reason to think she was unhappy in our marriage, as she would always point out other couples' problems and say to me, "You see, our problems aren't that bad." That said, we never really actually communicate about things. We both come from painful pasts and have our walls up to a degree, with hers definitely way higher than mine. She's always been an independent person, which is one of the reasons I love her and fell in love with her in the first place, while I'm more open about feelings. If we have failed, I know it lies there in communication. We both work very demanding jobs. She recently started a new one that involves crazy hours and lots of overtime, to the point where we rarely see each other. At the outset, we actually did communicate and talked about how hard this was going to be and some of the things we would have to do to push through until her hours stabilized. I had a hard time with the separation from the beginning, but we both tried to make it work. Then it all seemed to get one-sided. Again, instead of communicating, I distanced myself. But as it turns out, she had already been texting this man before I began doing so. As I said, we both work very demanding jobs, with mine being increasingly stressful over the past few years. I have been on a mental focused, self-reflection, and personal growth mission to be the best person I can be, and I was focusing around dealing with that work stress for a while. I finally made the breakthrough around this time. It was during this week or two where I turned that attitude or focus towards our relationship. Should have done it sooner. I realized our lack of communication, realized the distance that seemed to be increasing between us, and asked, why am I not working to decrease it, even if I didn't think she was? So I sat us down 3 nights in a row, and we had long heart-to-heart talks, talked about our problems, what we wanted from ourselves and each other. I told her about my self-reflection and how I wanted to be the best husband I could. But even those conversations seemed to be one-sided, after which I started noticing red flags. The normal behaviors changed. Our interactions and text conversations changed. On nights I would stay up with her, she would always encourage me to go to bed. I saw her texting someone sitting in her car in the garage before she was going to work, and later when she returned home, I saw a text on her home screen that said, "Miss you," from one of her old friends, whom I know she doesn't have a relationship with. I went to investigate and noticed her passcode was changed. Later, when I asked her about it, she gave me a very sketchy story as to why. I knew something was up. The next night on Christmas Eve, we were sitting next to each other when she got a text, looked at it quickly, and put her phone right down. I memorized the time it came in, and again she suggested I go to bed early. While she slept, I went in her phone and saw no text from that time. I searched archived texts and found them. She was texting someone from her new job, exchanging pictures, flirting heavily. I confronted her and we had a big blow-up. She had this man's number saved under her old friend's name. Apparently she deleted them every night, but forgot to this time because I was distracting her. She says it was only flirting via text and when he would stop by her desk, and that it was only for a few weeks, even though I was able to see the text log from our carrier, and it went further back than she claimed. It went back to right before I sensed the distance. She says the attention from another man, who's also married, excited her, that she knew it was wrong from the beginning and all along the way, that when I tell her how beautiful she is or do something for her, it's to be expected because I'm her husband. But when he did it, it did something to her. She says she was in control the whole time and it never would have escalated to anything else. How do I believe that when she didn't stop it, she got caught? Plus, she went out of her way to get his number escalated, and she was the one who initiated it with, "Are you just being polite, or do you find me attractive?" Hello, escalation. She claims it didn't mean anything, that she never wanted this man, and that she only continued while she tried to figure out why she was doing it. She also says she texted him ending it, but deleted those texts and his number as a way to show me she's cutting him out of her life, which again makes no sense to me. She seems genuine in her pain of what happened and wanting to work past this, but how can I believe her? She didn't stop. She continued it until she got caught. When would it have ended, and what would it have turned into? Like, I can understand part of where she's coming from if indeed she's telling the truth. I like when I get compliments from women, especially since my wife isn't that type to me at all, which makes this hurt even more since I am that type to her. But my wife is always right there with me in my heart and my head, and it's not even a thought because I choose her. I struggle with self-esteem, and while she never has, I could understand if that was part of it. I know that happens to people. But again, you always come to a choice, and to consciously know it's wrong and you're hurting the person, as she has told me she knew from the beginning and thought of throughout. You say you love, yet continue to do it? You have to continue to do it to figure out why? That's a part I'm really struggling with, because as soon as she got caught and we were talking during our blow-up, she figured out why. Again, hello, communication. It also hurts that not only did she not stop it, but even during and after our heart-to-hearts, she continued. She claims our talks changed how she texted him, and that it was only on his side then. But the very last thing she wrote to him was, "I've been thinking about you too, all day." I question her care, respect, consideration, and love for me, let alone being completely devastated and heartbroken. I love her, and part of me wants to try and make it work, wants to believe her. On top of all the pain and hurt that has to heal, how do you do that while trying to rebuild any semblance of trust, while addressing the other relationship issues, communication? How do I believe what she's saying actually happened when she no longer has my trust, and she has no way to prove it since the texts are deleted, including the one she claims ended it? How can I try to work at this when my mind will always imagine and question what actually happened? How can she build trust when we won't see each other enough, and when she works with this man? I'm a cerebral person who thinks too much. I know if I try, I'm setting myself up for mental torture on top of what's already happening. Too long. Didn't read. Caught my wife lying and texting, flirting with another man. Where to go from here?